This is something that people would expect governments to take seriously and expect all parliamentarians to take seriously.
You're saying this should be taken seriously? It sounds like you haven't done shit. Welcome back to Northern Perspective, everyone. I'm Cypher.
And I'm Fox. Mere hours after Pierre Poilievre revealed to Canadians exactly what was contained within those hidden documents regarding the Winnipeg lab scandal, Justin Trudeau was interrupted at a press conference in Thunder Bay and called to account by none other than the mainstream media.
Let's take a look.
Jordan Umstead with the Canadian Press. How is a scientist working on high-security viruses at the National Microbiology Lab allowed to collaborate with Chinese government agencies considered a threat to Canada?
That wiped the smile off his face really quick.
It sure did, right fast.
And you saw his eyebrows get furrowed, and he he doesn't want to answer this question.
A number of years ago, our security systems, our intelligence and security agencies flagged problems at the Winnipeg labs that were followed up on. We know as a country that increasingly countries like China and others are trying to either influence or get secrets out of our country. And that's why we have to continue to be extraordinarily vigilant about how we're making sure we're doing everything necessary to keep people safe, to keep our research institutions safe. As a government, we've taken many, many initiatives, and I've tasked our National Security and Intelligence Advisor to look even deeper at this Winnipeg's lab situation and make recommendations on how we can move forward appropriately. This is something that people would expect governments to take seriously and expect all parliamentarians to take seriously. Unfortunately, throughout this process, we have seen the Conservative Party, specifically Pierre Poilievre, choosing to spew conspiracy theories and drum up political attacks, partisan attacks, on an issue that, quite frankly, should be bringing Canadians and parliamentarians together to try and solve this. The quickness with which they're looking for partisan advantage is not just undermining Canadians' trust in the system, but interfering with the ability of Parliament to deal with this. One of the reasons it has taken so long to get this report into Parliament is because of the choice that Conservatives made to try and extract any amount of political advantage by drumming up a level of partisanship and toxicity that is not serving Canadians. There's lots of opportunity to have responsible political debates about how we're moving forward as a country and what needs to be fixed, what's being done well, what needs to be done better. Absolutely. That's part of the give and take in our democracy. But the choice to weaponize national security in a way that is rife with conspiracy theories and partisan attacks is a choice that I don't think is worthy of the kind of responsible leadership that Canadians deserve. I will also add that hearing two particular Conservative members, Michael Chong and James Bazan, suddenly being front and center on issues of security and international impact after having been complete ghosts over the past number of months on anything to do with standing up for Ukraine, for example, or even on the matter of their colleague Leslyn Lewis calling for a withdrawal from the United Nations.
I have to stop him there. There's so much wrong. Okay.
Well, he's just going off on this unhinged rant. He's not making good points. I mean, I'm sure he thinks he's making good points, but he comes off as a raving lunatic.
Yeah. So let's just unpack a little bit of that. So as usual, this is all of the Conservatives' fault, right?
Yeah, it wasn't the Conservatives who tried to sue Anthony Rota to keep this report buried, now was it?
Well, here's the thing. So he's talking about respecting Parliament. Your government was required 4 different times to comply with a parliamentary order to produce these documents, and you ignored them. And then when the Speaker of the House, your Speaker, Anthony Rota, the guy that you threw under the bus, when he was actually going to be making probably a successful attempt to go and get the documents, you sued him. You sued the Speaker of the House to prevent this from happening. And then when you saw that it was going to happen, what did you do? You called an election. You shut down all of the investigations, prevented all of this legal or parliamentary machinery from continuing in order to release these documents, to release this. And then you're trying to say, you know, they're using national security. Hold on. That was your definition. You guys were saying these documents can't be released because of national security. And then when this quote unquote independent committee that you guys set up actually reviewed this, the conclusion from them, which included 2 judges, by the way, that there was nothing related to national security that was problematic in releasing this report. And that the reason why it would have been delayed and not released is to avoid embarrassment to both the agency and the government of Canada. And you're trying to say it was the Conservatives' fault? It was the Conservatives that delayed this? You could have released this anytime you want. Nice try, Justin.
Well, and the other mistake I think he made was going after Michael Chong.
Yeah.
We've said it before and we'll say it again. He is one of the most respected members of Parliament in that House on all sides, not just within the Conservative Party, but he has the respect of the government, of the NDP. We've heard he's held in extremely high regard, and to try to tarnish his image in that way, I don't think is going to end well for Trudeau.
No. Absolutely not. When you go after people or organizations that have impeccable integrity, all that is going to do is reveal the ugly side of your character and cause people to question you even more than they may already do. So when you're talking about people like Michael Chong, why is Michael Chong front and center of this? How about he's A, the shadow minister of foreign affairs, and B, he has a really unique perspective on this because, let's see, he was interfered with and his family was threatened by China, which you didn't tell him for 2 years, Trudeau. Let's just remind you of that piece. And this has to do with Chinese foreign interference. So he has a very interesting and unique perspective on this. And he was the one calling you guys out for not releasing these documents, for ignoring the will of Parliament. That's who Michael Chong is. You want to put your quote-unquote responsible leadership next to Michael Chong? Go for it, Trudeau. Any day of the week, twice on Sunday, and you're going to be pretty surprised really quick in terms of who Canadians will side with in terms of who has more integrity.
Trust me, I would rather have Michael Chong for Prime Minister than Justin Trudeau.
It's no contest.
Exactly.
But when it comes to making partisan attacks out of an issue that should be taken seriously by all parliamentarians, it's not worthy of an official opposition.
Oh, the other thing that he said, he's tasking his, one of his guys to look into this. Trudeau, this happened 5 years ago. This should be done. And never mind, you still didn't answer the question. How were they able to do that? Well, we're looking into it. You're saying this should be taken seriously. It sounds like you haven't done shit. Taking it seriously 5 years later. This is the guy that has been leading this government for the last 8 years. And whatever, I'm talking to NDP voters right now, whatever your MPs have been telling you and selling you, it's a lie. Your MPs are keeping this guy in power. Your MPs are associating themselves with this disgrace of a prime minister and this disgrace of a government. Do better. Do better. Let them know that this is unacceptable. Let them know that you don't accept this type of corruption. You don't have to be conservative or NDP or liberal. Liberal voters should be just as angry about this. This is what we have as the leader of our country. Whenever he's called out on anything, look at the pattern. Whenever he's called out.
He's like a child. Oh, it wasn't my fault. It was my sibling's fault.
Right, there's no responsibility. There's no accountability. Nobody was fired over this. This is a serious, serious breach of Canadian national security in the lab. And nobody gets fired. SDTC scandal, nobody gets fired.
ArriveCan.
Nobody gets fired.
A few people have been suspended without pay, but so far as we know, nobody's been fired.
SNC Lavalin, no accountability. Vacations, repeatedly, no accountability. No respect for all of us Canadians that are struggling.
No, he has absolute disdain for Canadians. I mean, you can see the way he talks down to us and tries to divide us.
It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. A good prime minister would respect the fact that Canadians have it harder than ever right now.
And that it's his fault.
Well, and it doesn't even matter if it's his fault. This is the point, everybody. It doesn't matter if you believe that all of the economic problems that Canadians are facing here are Trudeau's fault or not. It doesn't matter, really. You have a guy that shoots off whenever he can on vacations in places where it would normally cost $9,000 a night. How does that look? It's a lack of integrity and a lack of awareness. So it doesn't even matter what side of the aisle you're on. Doesn't matter what you think the causes of the issues are in Canada. This is the guy that is setting the standard by which integrity is supposed to apply. And this is what we get. We get somebody that has no accountability, no integrity, and is completely out of touch with the lives of everyday Canadians. And you need to take a real hard look in the mirror and say, you know what? Is this the guy I really want for my prime minister? And NDP voters, you need to take a good hard look at your MPs who've been lying to you all this time and decide, do I want to be lied to anymore, or am I going to make my voice heard?